Oh, oh, scared myself. I just scared myself. I dropped something. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Uh, oh, not feeling it this morning. Woof. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Uh, good morning, everyone. My skin is absolutely out of control this morning. It's so great. Hi, Easily. I haven't even pulled up anything. Anything. I have a lot of stuff, though. But is there anything happening in Congress today? I didn't even look. Hold on. I hope everyone's well. Good morning. It's Wake and Bake with Lolo, and I'm Lolo. That's right. I'm Lolo. Yeah, yeah. I'm Lolo, Lolo, Lolo. All right, let's see here. What do we got? Oh my god. I don't even know. Wait, playlist. Wait. Let's see. Oh, Glenn Beck's live. Love Glenn Beck. Hi, Neil. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay out late. President Trump is hosting a lunch with African leaders. Interesting. What's he going to be asking them for, I wonder? Could it be minerals and shit? Oh, I just don't know where to begin. I think there is. Wait, hold on. Listening to a Theremin album as I was waiting for Wake and Bake to start, as one does. I mean, Jane, now, okay, listen. I really thought that movie was about drugs. I was expecting, and it's fine because it was a wonderful film, actually. I mean, if you haven't seen the documentary about Dr. Terman is how you say his name in Russian, but Theremin, who invented that instrument that it you manipulate sound waves with your hands, and it became a very unique instrument in the olden days, not olden days, but like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s kind of thing. And then what's his name? Brian Wilson used it on Good Vibrations. No pun intended. I know, exactly. It was kind of funny because everybody had a different idea of what this movie was going to be about. I thought it was going to be about drugs. I can't remember who thought it was going to be about a cult, and then another person thought it was going to be about Brian Wilson, which he was in the movie. So you whoever guessed that got just about right. I thought it was going to be about drugs. So then we figured it must be a movie about a cult that takes drugs and listens to a lot of Brian Wilson. This was the documentary about the theremin, yeah. Which I do highly recommend because, hi, butterflies. I've wanted one for years, but Clara made it look easy. I know, she did make it look easy. There's one chick that, was like an impresario of the theremin, and she did make it look easy. And I'm going to be honest. Oh, really? $300 to $400? Oh, interesting. I'm sorry. A little something in my throat this morning. Very warm here. Very warm here in Los Angeles. So I might melt today. Um, yeah, it was a very good documentary. Who knew? Who knew? And oh, here's the funny part. Well, there's a funny part. It's not really funny. Anyway, so when I was a kid, I remember hearing about the theremin, right? Like it probably was on Lawrence Welk or something, right? So I remember hearing about the theremin, but I'm going to be honest with you, and this is not a joke. I remember thinking that people were just humming, like they were moving their arms, but it was like a trick because they were just humming. I swear to God, that's what I thought when I was a kid. And I don't think I ever changed that feeling until I saw this movie because I actually didn't realize it was a thing. Oh, I'm really warm. Anyway, I know. So there you go. There's the story of the theremin. all the things. Let me see what I've got for this morning. I just want to see. I have a Canadian story this morning, and I have some SCOTUS thing to play. Let's see. Oh, those are bad. Oh, here we go. Today. Wait, what? Oh, okay. All right. That was something that never happened. What's this? Never happened. I think Congress missed a bunch of their how dull. Congress missed a bunch of their things. You're humbling some. You're bumbling some theremin tunes in the background. It goes well with Wake and Bake. Yeah, highly recommend the theremin Odyssey. I think it's called. Actually, it's really impossible to find because I had to pay. I had to. I had to. I had to get it off a Russian movie website. So good luck finding it. I will say the Russian Netflix has everything, and it's not really a Netflix. Okay, that's a joke. Really, it's not really a Netflix. Sorry to disappoint. It's not though. Wow, we've got a lot of stuff. Hold on. Uh, there's a lot of really terrible stories. Let's see. This one's from Teresa. Oh, Stephen Miran is making his ugly head visible again. Yeah, I also want to say I posted yesterday. Hi, butterflies. I posted yesterday that Kerr County in Texas had applied for a siren, or they didn't want the apparently some group in Kerrville, I don't know, city council or something, had decided they didn't want sirens for the flood warning. But they were also denied a early warning system two times in 2017 and 2018. I don't know if what's his name was the governor then or not, or whatever the legislature was. It was undoubtedly Republican because it usually is. So, yeah, this is what happens when you turn grants down, when you don't get grants and you don't improve your equipment. This is what happens. So, it's a lesson for all states that they should be prepared and make sure that their communities have everything. Ziskolovich and Ibertov give two thumbs up. It's a David Lynch album, a tribute album by Peter Theremin, his grandson. Oh, wow. That's so cool, Jane. Oh my gosh. Hi, Scott. How are you? Oh my gosh. Good to see you. Yeah, let me see. Okay. So I've got a few stories, a couple stories. Not a lot for today. Not a ton. So we might play around. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things this morning. Let's see. So one is trying to get back into the economics of this administration a little bit and understand. I'm starting to really see a lot of examples of how the Mar-a-Lago Accords. Hi, Karen. Hi, Oomph. Um, the Mar-a-Lago Accords are raising their ugly little head when it comes to this administration, and the fact that all these mineral deals, I just keep hearing and looking for the mineral and the resource deals that this administration is making, and under which circumstances the mineral deals evolve, right? Whether there's a conflict, whether there's not, is it out of the blue kind of thing. Oh, the trip was good. Yes, we got there on time and everything was fine. There was a little traffic on the way back, but it was fine. It was good. She did this really cool thing. I can't get into too much detail, uh, but she was visiting one of the vendors for the project that she's working on. I guess I can say it's a TV series. So she's working on a TV series, and they went to a studio where they make certain things for movies. I can't even get into it because they're all known. Um, and so they were visiting with that and doing work from that location. And it was she had a great time. She had a great time. I didn't stay with her. I left, but she had a great time. So thank you for asking. Yeah, it was a good trip. She works so hard. I can't believe how hard she works. Um, but yeah, we should actually we should watch a couple of her old stuff that she worked on. And she worked on extrapolations and that show from oh, she got a ride home from one of the other production people. So that was good. Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. It was really good. I missed you guys. I missed hanging out. I felt a lot of FOMO. Yeah. Yeah, so that was it. We had a good time. We had a great time. Laughing and laughing. Hi Teresa, how are you? Um so yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about mineral deals this morning, and then I've got a couple of clips. Oh, I wouldn't abandon her. No. I told her, I said, I'll stay. I'll hang out in the neighborhood if you want me to. And, da, da, da. And she's like, no, I don't know how late I'm going to be. And it turns out that she was quite late because she didn't get home until like 7:30. So it was a long day. It was a long day. That's the thing about the film industry. It's far less glamorous than one thinks it might be. I find her career to have been very unglamorous and uh very long hours. Like, God, they work forever. Her days are 12-hour days, and I just don't know. I mean, I know how you do that when you're her age, when you're young, but man, I couldn't do it now if you paid me to. So there. I couldn't do it now if you paid me to. But yeah, she's really good at what she does too. She's very good at what she does. I do wish she would get back on set, and right now she's doing post production stuff, which is great. She's learning a lot about that end of the industry. Um, and doing well. But I do miss the days when she was on set and doing camera stuff, and she does too. She misses that too. So I'm sure at some point she'll probably get back to that. But that's the way the industry goes. You kind of go with the work and how it's going. So anyway, yeah, she's having a good time, I guess. I hope. All right. I know I'm a little off this morning because it was so warm last night. I found it difficult to sleep. But other than that, it's all right. Um, oh yeah, I let's see. This is something from Teresa. Very short. Hold on. Oh. What are you doing this morning, baby? What are you doing today? What are you doing this morning, baby? All right, this is from our beautiful Teresa. Commentary. This is True Social from what, yesterday? Yeah. A new study by the Council of Economic Advisors, led by the highly respected chair, Dr. Stephen Miran, has found that tariffs have had zero impact on inflation. That's right. I wanted to pull up another thing with economic indicators over here. In fact, the study shows that import prices are actually dropping, just like I always said they would. The fake news and the so called experts were wrong again. Tariffs are making our country something. Wait, our country boom. like blow up, like explode. Yeah, oh, to be young again, right. Uh, explode. Where was it? Where are they? Many new factories. Oh, wait, what? Oh, boom. I was the boom word. I put in the explode. Okay. Many new factories, jobs, and trillions of dollars in investments are pouring into the USA. Someone should show this new study to Too Late Jerome Powell. That's right. That's his new nickname. Too Late Jerome Powell. Uh, who's been whining like a baby about non existent inflation for months and refusing to do the right thing to cut interest rates, Jerome. Now's the time. I'm surprised he didn't call him Jerry. Quoting a study by his own toady. Yeah. Yeah. Supper day, long days in the showbiz, but everybody eats well. Yeah. On set, they do. In post, not always. In post, not always. But you know what? It's still a good deal, and she absolutely loves what she does. And that, to me, is the most important thing in the entire world. All right, so that's Stephen Miran. Does he have a? He has a study. I didn't even know that there was a study. What study was it? Tariff studies. Tariff study. Moran. God, what am I? I'm so behind. The chairman of the has made several comments. Okay, tariffs are not. Oh, here we go. Tariffs are not causing inflation. Oh, well, that's a very specific. That is a very, very specific little specific little thing. I think they're going to be eating these words. CEA's directional finding. Where's the fucking report? Give me the report. God, Stephen Miran is such a fucking worm. I gotta show you this picture of him. Oh my God, there's a. Oh, he's just so icky. Oh God, where the fuck is this? Okay, well, I'm gonna read this, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Let me put this here. There's my mineral deals I'm gonna be reading to you about. And then we still have to talk about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and I'm gonna do it. Okay. Here we go. Let me read this first because I haven't read this yet. Um, The new Council of Economic Advisors report finds tariffs not causing inflation. The CEA said its findings contradict claims that the Trump administration's tariffs or fears sparked by the levies would lead to a rise in inflation. What is that? No, we're not gonna look at that. Okay. Bigger. Ah, stop. Oh my God, I hate you. All right. The CEA, an agency within the executive office of the president, said its findings contradict claims that the administration's tariffs on many countries around the world or fears sparked by the levies would lead to a rise in inflation. How silly. The report breaks down the Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, which is an inflation gauge watched closely by the Federal Reserve and financial markets, and the Consumer Price Index, which is an inflation gauge most commonly used by the public into imported and domestic components. Overall goods in the PCE index. Okay, so overall goods prices in the PCE index jumped by 0.4% from December through May, which corresponds to a 1% annualized rate. I don't know what that means, according to the CEA report. Meanwhile, the imported component of PCE goods prices dropped by 0.1%. The CEA's directional findings using this method of analyzing the PCE are consistent across core goods, excluding food and energy, durables, which last for at least 3 years, and non durables. The import contribution to inflation includes both the direct impact of imported final goods for consumption and indirect effects of imported intermediate inputs. The report said similar analysis for this consumer price index showed that imported goods dipped 0.8%, while overall goods prices remained flat. I'm a worm. Look at me, I'm wormy. I look like a little penis tip with my little hole for my mouth. All right, here we go. The inflation rate in the US did increase from February 2025. to May 2025. Specifically, the annual inflation rate, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, rose from 2.8% in February to 2.4. Oh, rose to 2.8. Oh no, went from 2.8 to 2.4. Wait, what? I'm confused. But here is a little penis man. He's a penis man. There are several differences. Okay, here we go. There are several differences between PCE and CPI inflation, such as scope of products included. See, there's all these things that make it so easy to cherry pick facts. This is my problem. They make it so easy to cherry pick facts. If you pick this indice over that indice, or index over that index, you can twist the narrative to support whatever. I mean, it might be 1.8. I think we're at 2.4 or 2.3 inflation right now. I don't know why they just not see. There's another thing. Would they just say, "Oh, that's real inflation"? I'm talking about fake inflation. Like I don't know. Oh, that's real inflation adjusted for X. I'm looking at fake inflation over here, adjusted for my ass. Okay. There are several differences between PCE and CPI inflation, such as scope of products included and weighting methodologies. My God, there's a way to manipulate everything, according to the report, which argued that finding a similar pattern for CPI highlights the robustness of the results. Oh, it gives me a headache just thinking about it. The CEA report said it compared the imported sub-index to overall prices from December through May to capture the effects of Donald Trump's. Okay, the results clearly show the price of imported components declining starting in March, while overall prices were close to unchanged or increased slightly. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Sorry, that was really loud. Wait a minute. Yeah, thank you, Max. Prices for groceries increased by 2.2% year over year in May, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Restaurant prices increased even more with a 3.8% year over year increase in May. And I'm going to tell you right now, I buy coffee, right? And my coffee went up $7 a pound since April, since the tariff fee type stuff. And I know there's not I don't know what the tariffs on coffee are. Or, depending on where it comes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I sneezed. Oh, coffee has spiked recently? Okay. Well, I just am trying to think about things that I buy on a regular basis that I can definitely take advantage of. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wait, where's our thing? In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Thank you so much. All right. I feel better now. The results, okay, but see, here we go. This is the report. The report says the results clearly show the price of imported components declining. Oh my God, there's so many pictures of this bitch. Declining starting in March, while overall prices were close to unchanged or increased. Okay, so components were declining, but the prices went up or stayed the same. Okay. Cumulatively, overall PCE prices have increased by about 1.1 since December. Overall PCE prices have increased by about 1.1% since December, compared to about 0.2% for PCE import prices. Oh, for rising. Okay. However, these values include pricing for services, which tend to have a lower import. See, this is the thing. This is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. They're just basically taking whatever fact they want. And yeah, fuck these guys. I want to look for the report. Okay. All right. Well, we know he's full of shit. So there you go. Okay. So here's the mineral deal shit that I want to talk about, because I am definitely convinced. Maybe I've convinced myself, but I'm definitely convinced that components, not the Mar-a-Lago Accord itself, obviously, because the tariff rates are different in real life versus that document and everything. So it's not all hinging on this Mar-a-Lago Accord document that Stephen Miran, the human penis tip, wrote. But what's interesting to me um, is that there are components of that, like the conversations that are being had with different countries about their resources that seem to fit in quite nicely into the spirit of the Mar-a-Lago Accord, where you want to have security conversations with countries and surround, and include the conversation about their access to their resources. So it's it it's kind of screaming in my ear, but maybe I could be totally wrong, by the way, because I'm not an economist, as you can tell. I don't understand all the logic behind some of these things and, the inverse price relationships and stuff like that. I don't really understand all of that, but it intrigues me, and especially kind of facts. Media literacy intrigues me, of course. And so I'm just wondering, and these patterns are kind of emerging, and I'm not even looking for them. Like every time I look up a country that Trump is touting that he's done something amazing with, like Pakistan or something, there's a mineral deal involved. I shit you not. Because I keep wondering. Like yesterday, I was listening to his nonsense cabinet for a minute, and he talked about, Serbia and Kosovo. That, I guess, I don't know, they negotiated something between them, and there was a mineral deal that came out of it. So I want to start focusing on that. The other thing we're going to do today is talk about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, because there was two pieces that I really wanted to read to you about them, because we can't kind of take our eye off of that either. So let me read you this one. Trump advances mineral deal talks with China and the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which they're not democratic, but, irony. The Trump administration is announcing they've reached a trade agreement with China that includes mineral provisions. Oh, this is from, what day is this from? Oh, this is from June 27th. So this is a week or so old. Okay, it's a little older. That includes mineral provisions. Oh my God, shocking. And is seeking further agreements with Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is also interesting because today in the White House or wherever he is, Trump is having a lunch with African leaders. And I can't imagine what the conversations are going to be like. So anyway, I don't know. It's all, the amalgamation of resources from other countries will allow this kind of insular AI, crypto mining industry driven vision, vision of the world, and so that's why it's also important to me, or it seems important. Da, 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 da. There's Mrs. Beasley. Good morning, Mrs. Beasley. The Trump administration reached an agreement with China this week focused on rare earth exports to the U.S., building on previous talks between the new nations that eased tariffs on imports from Beijing. Quote, we had trade talks in Geneva towards moving toward. Wait, what? Wait, what? China controls the smelters. Oh, yeah, and the copper and all this stuff. We had trade talks in Geneva toward moving towards the agreement in London. Wow, that's a great sentence. Part of the agreement was tariffs coming down and rare earth magnets starting to flow back to the U.S. They form the core of our industrial base. They were not flowing as fast as previously agreed, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, said Friday on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria. The agreement was then signed earlier this week, which the administration is describing as a de-escalation of the U.S.-China trade war. In Alaska, Cool Ranch Doritos party size $13.50. What? That's what we need to do. We need to watch the Cool Ranch Doritos index. That's what we need. Yes, he did just slap the tariffs on copper. Yes. He we we need the Cool Ranch Doritos index, Jen. Stat. Thank you for reporting on that, Jen. Thank you, Jen, our economic reporter, coming to you from the line of fire and reporting on what the current price of Cool Ranch Doritos is. The CRD index. Yes, thank you. The CRD. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain. My Captain. CRD. I love you. I love you. You're so funny. I am confident now that we, as agreed, the magnets will flow. What? In the meantime, we had put countermeasures versus the Chinese in place. We had held back some. We held back some, the vital supplies for them. So what we're seeing here is a de-escalation under President Dump's leadership. So there. Lee has the tariffs, I bring the Doritos. That's right. You are our consumer price index. Hey, have eggs gone down? No. Commerce Secretary Howard Nuttlicker told Bloomberg TV the deal, which was struck in London, was signed earlier this week. But I thought that Congress had to approve all the trade deals. What? What happened here? What? Wait, what? Juice box prices are next. That's right. The Capri Sun Index. Oh fuck. Okay. The China deal. We inked the deal. You remember we had a trip to Geneva and that was being slow played. We got back together in London. That deal was signed and sealed 2 days ago, Nuttlicker said. Nuttlicker also told Bloomberg that China will deliver rare earths to us. Which human deliver? Afterward the US will take down our countermeasures. So there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's going to really pull one over on the Chinese. That's right. Mossad Bullis, Trump's senior advisor for Africa and father-in-law to his daughter Tiffany. I hate this world. I hate this world. Oh my God. Oh, I hate this world so much. God, we're stupid. Why are people so stupid? Okay, we're negotiating minerals deals. Oh wait, Mossad, his daughter, told reporters that the U.S. was working on mineral agreements with both the DRC and Rwanda. No shit. We're negotiating a minerals deal with the DRC for critical minerals. Many American companies have shown interest in investing in the DRC. Same thing with Rwanda. Many American companies have shown interest, and not only in the mining, but also in the midstream and downstream, which will be the processing of minerals. Are they going to employ? Are they going to employ the same slave labor? Will there be children mining? Because they do now. Right now, the children are mining. Just so you understand what happens in the DRC. Yeah, the children are mining. Right. Yeah, that's right. So this should be really interesting. I really want to see what happens with supply chain conversations when it comes to us importing all these minerals. I really can't wait. I can't wait for that conversation. Yeah, then we're in big trouble. Yeah, if we have a juice box shortage, it's going to be real mayhem. All right, well, that's that. Responsible Statecraft, thequincyinstitute.org. Could Trump's Congo, Rwanda, yeah, there is one, Karen. Could Trump's Congo, Rwanda mineral deals actually save lives? Let's find out. The admin is signing peace and economic pacts today with countries that should be bursting with investment, not swimming in blood. Mm. Yes, says Dan Ford and Kenya Sanchez. There may be light at the end of the tunnel as representatives from the DRC and Rwanda are hoping to end the violence between them by signing a peace deal in a joint signing ceremony in Washington today. Well, that's interesting because I think I've seen quite a few peace deals supposedly entered into. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how you control what's happening in the DRC, but okay. Okay. I mean, I guess I do know how you do it. You send in Eric Prince, which is what Jim let me know on Monday when we were doing our space when we talked about these mineral deals, which I'd like to look into a little bit more. This comes after the United States and Qatar have been working for months to mediate an end to the conflict roiling the eastern DRC for years. Why is Qatar always involved in this shit? Can anyone explain that to me? Are they like super good negotiators or something? What is the deal? Why are they always involved? I don't get it. I mean, I'm not saying they're not good at what they do, but what? As a corollary to the peace accord, and what about the like? What about the other African states? I mean, shouldn't they be? I don't know. Okay. Um, as a corollary to the peace accord, the United States is also in the process of negotiating a minerals deal with the DRC and a separate deal with Rwanda, which is expected to bring billions of dollars of American investment to the region. That's called colonialism. Okay. Do you understand what that's called? That's called colonialism. I don't know how he can enforce a tariff on copper. It moves around too much. Copper scrap is imported from Mexico to the U.S., where it is turned into electric wire and sent back to Mexico. I don't know. That's a good question, Jim. I don't know. I don't know enough about that. As a corollary to the peace accord, okay, da 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 da. For the U.S. government, access to precious minerals in the region has been an incentive for helping to end the war. It's called extortion. Many of the minerals essential to modern technology, flow from the troubled region. In the DRC, vast deposits of coltan, cobalt, and gold that power smartphones and electric vehicles are among other technologies, have become a driver of the decades long conflict. This resource driven struggle has transformed the eastern DRC's extraordinary mineral wealth into a source of persistent violence and instability and slavery. And slavery. The strategic importance of these resources has placed the Congo at the center of U.S. geopolitical calculations in Africa. Yeah, that's saying something. Washington has increasingly recognized that securing reliable supply chains for these materials represents a national security imperative. The DRC holds 60% of global coltan reserves. It is also the world's largest producer of cobalt, amounting to approximately 70% of the world's production in 2024. Wow. Coltan and cobalt form the backbone of the global digital economy and clean energy infrastructure. For example, cobalt extracted from Congolese mines powers the rechargeable batteries in smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles. Meanwhile, Congolese copper is critical to the electrification of energy and transport. These minerals can be found in everything from electrical vehicle batteries to solar panels and wind turbines. Beyond cobalt and copper, the country's coltan deposits provide tantalum, a metal crucial for manufacturing capacitors used in virtually every electronic device. The DRC also possesses significant reserves of other rare earth elements that support technology manufacturing and are of major interest to the United States. Currently, the DRC mining sector is largely dominated by Chinese companies, particularly in the production of cobalt. Chinese state owned enterprises and policy banks control approximately 80% of the total output from cobalt mines. China's increasing ownership reflects broader investment strategies. Oh, is that what we're calling them now? Investment strategies? Really? Across the continent, where various joint ventures and infrastructure deals by Chinese companies are now a common occurrence. Complicating this landscape further, Rwanda has gained significant influence over mineral extraction in eastern Congo. Yeah, through its backing of the M23 rebel group that's fighting the DRC's army. The M23 has monopolized the export of coltan to Rwanda, which is then sold on the international market. It's estimated that rebels in eastern DRC fraudulently exported at least 150 metric tons of coltan to Rwanda last year, representing what UN experts described as the largest contamination of the region's mineral supply chain. The United States has pursued its interest in establishing supply chain resilience and ensuring American access to these critical minerals. In fact, the U.S. has pledged about $4 billion to the Lobito Corridor project, an infrastructure initiative linking Angola's Atlantic coast to the DRC through Zambia. Oh. Even before the reemergence of M23 as a serious security threat, financial challenges and short sightedness led several leading American mining companies to decrease their footprint in the Congo. For example, following poor investment decisions in the oil industry, Arizona based Freeport McMoran, one of the largest American mining companies, sold its stake in the Congolese mine Tenke in 2016 to Molybdenum, a Chinese mining company. Huh. What? Okay, I don't want to do that. Despite being aware of the importance of the region's critical minerals, successive U.S. administrations have largely failed to provide sufficient incentives to encourage American mining companies to stay active in the region. By working to end the conflict, the Trump administration is seeking to reverse this trend. Ending the war would remove one of the biggest disincentives to investing in the region, opening the door to greater American private sector investment in Central Africa. Never mind that the people won't be killed. Never mind. That's a side benefit. I hate this world. uh, among the companies poised to take advantage of sustained peace in the region is Cobalt Metals, which uses artificial intelligence to explore new mining sites. Cobalt recently announced that it will expand its operations into the DRC. And just last month, it was reported that Cobalt had reached a tentative agreement to buy the stake of an Australian mining company in a Congolese lithium deposit. Cobalt's interest in the Congo is significant because major investors in cobalt have contributed. Oh, I want to see who this. Oh. 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 What is he? Somebody needs to put a penis in that again. Oh. Hmm. Okay. Oh boy. It's all the same people taking all the same pills. Oh my god. Wow. Okay. Cobalt's interest in the Congo is significant because major investors in cobalt have contributed to Trump's political efforts. Really? Mark Andreessen, whose firm holds the largest stake in cobalt metals and who has worked with Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, as well as another cobalt financier, Ben Horowitz. Because Andreessen and Horowitz, they have a firm. Each donated 2.5 million to supporting Trump supporting super PAC during the last presidential election. God damn. Other wealthy and influential backers of Cobalt, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Amazon's Jeff Bezos. My God. Sam Altman and Bill Gates each contributed $1 million. Beyond supporting the business dealings of those who contributed to his campaign and inauguration, augmenting a peace deal with the mineral agreements also provides Trump an opportunity to promote key American industries that rely heavily on critical minerals whose deposits are found in great quantities across Central Africa. God damn. An effective peace deal and subsequent mineral deals. I mean, do we not see that this is colonialism? Is anybody anywhere? Anybody anywhere? Because the Qataris don't run the Congo. Okay, so we're not. Are we talking to the Congolese? Are we talking to the Rwandans? This does not end well. Okay, this doesn't end well. More people in the Congo and in eastern or western Rwanda will die. They will die. This is going to kill more children. This is going to enslave more people because the moment more demand is needed from these minerals, they're going to bring on more human slaves. Mm, 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 mm. An effective peace deal and subsequent minerals deal would also allow Washington to respond to Beijing's growing global economic footprint without risking a direct military escalation between the two in Central Africa, instead, using economic competition with China to deliver beneficial results. Oh my God, for Africans and Americans. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Responsible statecraft? What? I need to take a picture of that. I'm going to troll the Quincy Institute. Okay. Realizing this, Dump's team has already played a hands on role in trying to maintain American mining presence in the region. In March, when the M23 rebel group was bearing down on the Bizier tin mine, which produces approximately 6% of the global tin supply and is operated by a partially U.S. owned company, Alpha Min, the U.S. government reportedly stepped in to negotiate a deal, allowing Alpha Min to continue operations without fear of an attack. Wait a minute. How did they do that? I'll read that later. I wonder if Eric Prince is anywhere. His widow still writes to me. Let's see. I tried to watch the cabinet meeting yesterday, but after the third or fourth official started out with Supreme Leader, I just want to thank you. I know it was pretty bad. The U.S. Assassinated Patrice Lumumba partially because of fears of secession of a mineral-rich province. Yep. His widow still writes to me. His widow writes to you? Still, though, this intervention was not enough to retain the American stake in one of the world's largest tin mines. In early June, Alpha Min reportedly agreed to sell its U.S. stake to an Emirati firm. Trump's team hopes greater access to Congolese mines will accelerate American-based manufacturing of certain technologies such as lithium-ion batteries and semiconductors. Trump has argued that onshoring the manufacturing of these technologies is both a national security imperative and economically advantageous to the country, creating jobs for many of the Americans who voted for him, in part because they believed he would deliver them from financial strain. But before all of these economic opportunities and benefits can happen, the war must end. Today's signing ceremony will be the first step. Oh, Dan. Oh, Dan. Oh, Dan. Yeah, okay. By the authors of Responsible State do not necessarily reflect those of the Quincy Institute. Yeah, well, you know, just like curious about odd bolus. All right, I'll have to read about that. I would like to read about that more. Um, willing to cut in. Oh, wait, what? She has great needs to expatriate some cash. What are you talking about? Yesterday, Dump claimed that he had made numerous deals for foreign manufacturers to move operations to the U.S. and will have, and each will have its own power plant. He's been saying that. Then he put it to 50. No, but they're going to be able to expense 100% of whatever they build here in this country. Do you understand that, Jim? It's a sweetheart deal. It doesn't matter about all the tariffs because he'll cut out for whoever is his donor. This is the donors getting their payday. That's what this is. This is donors getting their payday. Really, really fucking unbelievable, frankly. Okay, let's talk about Canadians.
Turning now.
This is Christiane Amanpour, badass extraordinaire. And she's doing a story about the Canadian who was held in ICE detention. So I didn't listen to this yet, but I was interested in hearing it. So here we go. It's about 18 and 19 minutes.
To immigration, yet another landscape being significantly transformed by Trump policies. The Department of Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem met this week with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Arizona law enforcement agents who are searching for illegal immigrants in the Phoenix area. Here's what she said yesterday.
Also, we're working hard on enforcing the Alien Enemies Act, which I'm sure you saw the Supreme Court made a decision on yesterday. And we are going to continue to use that to deport the worst of the worst out of our communities and make sure they're facing consequences.
So the crackdown has affected thousands of migrants, but one particular story has grabbed attention. Canadian actress and entrepreneur Jasmine Mooney was recently detained by ICE for 12 days while attempting to renew her work visa. Hari Srinivasan spoke with her about this experience in detention and why she's using her voice now to advocate for immigration reform.
Christian, thanks. Jasmine Mooney, thanks so much for joining us. Jasmine, our audience might have heard a little bit about your story. You were somebody who's an entrepreneur, an actress, and you have been working in Canada and the United States, but you were recently detained for 12 days. Why were you kind of between these countries, and what made you want to go get another work visa for the United States?
So my visa journey started a year ago. I had this amazing opportunity to launch a brand called Holy Water out of California that is holistic medicine, metabolic health, and I went to originally apply for my TN visa a year ago.
And what's a TN visa for people who might not know?
A TN visa is a business consultant visa. And so I originally applied for that visa at the Canadian border, and I got denied over some minor paperwork issues. And the agent told me, you can come back tomorrow and reapply. And so my lawyer, he was based in San Diego, and he told me, you know what, Jasmine, just come down to San Diego. I'll come with you to the office to make sure that nothing is missing in your paperwork. And we'll just get this done. So that's what I did. And I went down there and I got my visa within half an hour. And I was then working in California. And I still had my place in Canada, in Vancouver. So I was going back and forth, no issues there for just under a year. And the first issue I had started 4 months ago. So I was in Vancouver traveling back to LA. And I got stopped, and the agent told me, he's like, why were you originally denied and then went to the San Diego border? That seems really shady. And I explained my situation, and he told me, well, you aren't allowed to process visas there. And long story short, they took my visa away.
Were you in America at the time, or were you in Canada at the time?
I was in Canada. I was traveling back to LA, and they stopped me, and then I wasn't allowed back into the country until I got that sorted. So I actually got offered another position with another health and wellness brand. And I talked to lawyers. I said, I want to reapply for my TN visa and work with this company. Is that an issue? And they said, no. And I said, well, I want to go to the same office that I went to. Should that be an issue? No. The worst that would happen is you get denied, like you've been denied before, and then we figure that out after that.
I told you not to go to that office.
So never in a million years did I think that what happened to me would have happened.
So you went to the United States, to the Customs and Border Protection Office, is that right?
So it wasn't America. It's the Mexican border that goes into San Diego. So that's where my visa was processed before. I was familiar with it. I had no issues. And so I went back there.
Office.
So you had not been in the United States illegally up until you walked across the border to go to the Border Patrol office. Am I right there?
Yeah. So it was the immigration office. You walk in through Mexico into the immigration office where they process visas. That's where I was.
Okay. And then what happens?
You're not from Mexico.
So I get there. I have all my paperwork, and
I mean,
it was just such a roller coaster.
Detention experience.
First, they said I wasn't eligible for this visa, and then they called their supervisor, and I was.
Exactly.
Then they approved my visa, and then I was sitting down, and while they were processing my visa, they said that there's issues with my passport because it was going to expire in 2 years. So it was just one thing after another. I was in that office for, I think, 6 hours. And finally, at the very end, I was sitting there. Well, after they had said, like, yes, you are eligible for this visa, I get called back up and they go, okay, we're so sorry, but Unfortunately, because you've had issues with your visa in the past, with it, the denial and it being voided, in order to get your visa, you need to apply through the consulate. And I said, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I'll go do that. And they go, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not in trouble. You're not a criminal. And at the time, I thought that language was very odd.
Why did they say all
Why
that?
would they use that? And they go, but we have to send you back to Canada. And I said, okay, like I was planning on going back anyway. And then this man came out and he said, Jasmine, please follow me. And he took me to this room. And that's where it all happened. And with no warning, all my stuff was taken. My phone was taken, hands against the wall. I started getting pat down. They said, take off your shoes. And they started ripping my shoelaces out of my shoes, which at the time I had no idea what that meant. And then later on found out that's so you don't hang yourself in prison. Was taken, and I was placed into a cell with 5 other girls where we slept on the ground on this tiny mat and had aluminum foil wrapped around our bodies like dead bodies. And I was in there for 48 hours before anyone talked to me or I was allowed to make a phone call. I didn't get that phone call until day 3.
And then where were you? Did you stay in that jail the whole time, or where were you transferred?
So I was still in that jail. And then after that call, I was given a stack of paperwork that told me that I was banned from America for 5 years unless I appeal and go through the consulate, sign here, sign here, sign here. And then the woman told me it doesn't matter if you sign or not, though, like this is happening regardless. And I said, how long am I going to be here? Can I please, I'll book my flight home. And she goes, I don't know how long you're going to be here. I'm just doing my job. And then that is when they transferred me to Otay Mesa, the first jail that I was in.
Sorry, how many jails were you in?
I was in 2. I was in 2 jails. I was transferred 3 times. When they transfer you, they put you in chains. I had chains wrapped around my waist, handcuffs on my hands that were attached to my waist, handcuffs on my feet. They transfer you. That's when I got transferred to Otay Mesa. And then a few days later, they transferred me to Arizona.
What was the treatment like? What were the people that were in there with you like?
The first jail I was in, there were about, I'd say 140 girls, women, and every single one of them, not one of us had a criminal record. So when you're placed in jail, the color of your prison outfit reflects your criminal status. So I was placed in the unit with 0 criminal records. Everyone's story was different of why they were in there, but a lot of similarities between the women. And I got out within 2 weeks. The majority of the women are in there for months. And I'm telling you, that place, these detention centers, everything in there is made to make you break into a million pieces. I have never seen this before. I had no idea that this existed for the non-criminals. Like, they would just do the weirdest things. Like, we'd get placed into these cells that were freezing cold. I'm talking like we'd be on the ground, like huddling, shivering. I'm like, we're going to get hypothermia in here. No blankets, nothing. They would wake you up in the middle of the night. The food was not food. I wouldn't even feed it to a dog. The water was from tap water from our toilets. They'd give you 1 styrofoam cup and 1 plastic spoon to reuse after every meal. Like, the second jail I was in, we didn't get to stretch our legs and be, and it's not even fresh air. Like, it's like this another cell with a tiny sliver of fresh air. And we didn't get to go out there until day 4. And the thing with this place is, if you go to jail, you're sentenced and you know when you're getting out. In here, you have no idea. And these women haven't seen their husbands. They haven't seen their children. They're losing their jobs. It's just,
Exactly,
I honestly could not believe that this is happening.
What were the range of reasons why some of the women that were in that facility with you said that they were there?
So there were a lot of freak accidents like me. I met this one woman who, her and her husband have working visas in America. They're both pastors, and they were on a road trip in San Diego, and they accidentally went into the wrong lane and were about to cross the Mexican border, and they stopped their car and they said, no, we can't cross the border. We don't have our passports. And the guard was like, okay, yeah, just go on ahead and turn around. And then they got put into the system. I met people similar to me who got taken from the immigration office when they were reapplying. And then you have all of the women from countries all over the world who have come to America to seek asylum. So all different backgrounds, but we were all placed in this cell together.
So how did you finally get out? What was the thing that actually worked in getting, was it their attention, or what happened?
Nothing is for certain, but what I can tell you is when I was placed into the second jail, I started freaking out because of the conditions. And one of the girls gave me her phone call because for some reason she could set up her phone account, but because my number was a Canadian number, I couldn't. And she gave me her call. I called my friend that got me to the media that she had found, who had just done case reports on two other people who had been in the detention centers. And he blasted my story, and ICE called my lawyer the next day. So what it was, who knows, but the timing suggests that it was because of the news.
You feel privileged?
I am 100% privileged. That was something that really, really came to me when I was in there. And that is why I've been so vocal about this story, because this isn't my story. This is thousands and thousands of women that are placed in these systems that do not have my privilege. And I tell everyone, I had resources. I had a Canadian passport. I had lawyers. I had politicians. I had media. And it still took me almost 2 weeks to get out of there. Can you even imagine what these other women are going through?
So we reached out to the CBP, and while the CBP has not responded, ICE said in part, Jasmine Mooney was detained March 3rd by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for not having legal documentation to be in the United States. Mooney was processed in accordance with the Securing Our Borders executive order dated January 21st. All aliens in violation of U.S. immigration law may be subject to arrest, detention, and, if found removable by final order, removed from the U.S. regardless of nationality. What's your reaction to their statement?
Well, one thing I do know is, for instance, when I was placed into prison, I told every single guard, I will pay for my flight. Please, someone, can I talk to my ICE officer? I even wrote in the tablet, I will pay for my flight. And when my story broke to the media, ICE contacted my lawyer for the first time as soon as it released. And they told them, oh, yeah, Jasmine's here. We weren't aware that she would pay for her flight home. No problem. We'll get her out tomorrow. So I don't know what their statement means because I was in the immigration office applying legally. I've had so many lawyers from across the country look at my paperwork. They don't understand it. It doesn't make sense.
You've said that some of these women gave you letters for you to mail when you got outside. Is it right?
Yeah. So what happened when we were placed in the second jail, they were like, oh, we don't know how long we're going to be in here. Jasmine, you are for sure getting out before any of us. Can you please contact our families? Because I was like, I'm going to be so vocal about this. And they were just like, use our stories as proof, because listen, I'm sitting here telling you what we went through. I don't have proof. I don't have videos. I don't have photos of the conditions. It's my word, right? And so, and then a lot of people are extremely scared to talk about this. And when I got out of prison, I've had so many people DM me who were placed in the system. And I was like, would you be willing to come forward and talking? And they're like, no, like they suffer from so much PTSD, from trauma. They're scared. You know, this is scary. People think, I don't want to talk about this because what if I get banned for life, or I get in trouble, or they come after me? And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to talk about this.
Right now, for you, you are officially banned from the United States for the next 5 years.
Carrie.
What are you going to do about it?
There's a couple different things that could happen. Either my ban gets rescinded, which I'm hoping that might happen, or I am going to be appealing it. But unfortunately, those things just take time. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next few years with everything, right?
You're not advocating for open borders per se. Your critique is of the process in how people are being treated. Is that accurate?
100%. So I want to be very clear. I do not support being in any country illegally. You have to have the proper documentation. What I'm being an advocate for is if you are going to be deported from America or wherever, you should not, there is no reason anyone should be placed into these systems and stuck in there for weeks to months. I'm talking months, okay? And then on top of that, the conditions on which you are treated in these facilities. And then when I got out, I did a lot of research, and what I found is this is a business. And as things really started to make sense, I'm like, oh, so of course, I'm a businesswoman. They're cutting costs everywhere that they can when you are in these facilities. They have no incentive to get people out because the more people that are placed into these systems and the longer they stay and the more transfers they do, the more money they make. On top of it, these are taxpayer dollars. So the American people are paying for this to happen because these corporations are getting grants from the US government. So when you really put all the pieces together, it starts to make sense. And that is what I'm advocating for. Why was I, a Canadian, who my friends ended up paying for my flight home? And I spent 12 days in jail being treated like this scum of the earth, like a criminal. And they keep saying, like, to this day, I still do not have a criminal record, but I had an inmate ID, mugshots, fingerprinted, in a jail uniform, in chains for 12 days. So that should not be happening.
Jasmine Mooney, thank you so much for your time.
And I was interested in her story because I want to hear as many stories about what the conditions are like. Well, she was just trying to, she went down through Mexico in order to get back in, going through the San Diego, that region. So she was basically coming in to California from Mexico. And that's what kind of triggered. And she had a visa denied previously for a clerical error. And so it probably moved her up in the system. So that's what she did. She didn't do anything. She just entered and had, problematic paperwork at a certain point in time. And I understand, like, this woman, she has a very privileged, her story is not the story of every person that's been detained. But that's precisely why I was interested in hearing it in amongst the stories of people who are being detained and the conditions that they're in. Because what I appreciate about her story is that she is not, like, the fact that she equates the scum of the world with criminals. You know what I mean? Like, she has that kind of worldview that might be considered somewhat conservative in some ways, right? In some regards, and unaware. Right? She kind of operates in a privileged, very wealthy kind of lane, right? She's going to do her wellness her wellness products and all that kind of stuff. So she's definitely not tapped into what has been happening in this and angered by it to a point where she's like, changing her behavior. But now, having gone through this experience, maybe perhaps she's seeing more about how people are actually being treated, and that her place in that is very different and was treated very differently, and that means that she should speak out more and more. So I appreciate it from that standpoint, but recognize that she's a little bit ignorant about the depth of suffering prior to her experience in the actual system. So I want as many people as possible demanding justice and demanding due process and demanding a stop to this. Really, it's just a stop to this. It's not even due process. No, stop it. Stop it. Stop terrorizing communities. Stop taking people. Stop. Just fucking stop. And that, it's just like, oh, the Iranian grandmother was released in Louisiana because Steve Scalise stepped in. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Jen. That's it. Hi, Val. Val. Hey, Val, did you get the package? I hope you did. I didn't check the tracking to make sure you got it. It does make me want to cry. It does. It's just it is so amazing to me that it just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. It's not even about due process at this point. Just fucking stop. Take your federal forces, take them away. And it's just not going to. And I can't believe that this is where we find ourselves. And I don't know. I mean, yeah. Oh, you are? Okay. All right. Hooray. Oh, that's right. It's just Wednesday, isn't it? Oh my God. I don't even know what date. It's not even open yet. It's not even open yet. But I hope it goes well. I hope it goes well. Yeah, so I guess she's talking. I don't care who. It's like, no, hers is not the poster story for what is happening to people all over this country. Period. It's an outlier. It's a very unique perspective that is not doesn't give you the depth of suffering that people are actually going through. But it would be important for us to just keep telling as many stories as possible. Yeah. Yeah. So that was that. And then what else do I have? I have SCOTUS. Okay. This one,
the majority of the Supreme Court is being basically
this is Harry Littman with Midas. But this is Harry's show. Talking Feds with Harry Littman, who I love. $5 million to Trump, and she's a U.S. citizen. I know. It probably would have been cheaper for her just to pay the $5 million and get a gold card. Right?
called out as sellouts
is,
who are willing to take the phone call
SCOTUS.
of Donald Trump at any point in time in the middle of the night. They're getting slammed like I've never seen slammed before in a dissent. Justice Sotomayor with Ketanji Brown Jackson in this case we're going to talk about. Let me just read for you this line because, you know, this is not exactly the types of dissents that I'm used to hearing, but it's appropriate for this moment right now, I think, because you do have the right-wing majority of the Supreme Court basically being on speed dial of Donald Trump saying, I need you to do something. Can you do something for me right now? Here's what it says. In a democracy, power implies responsibility. The greater the power that defies law, the less tolerant can this court be of defiance. As the nation's ultimate judicial tribunal, this court, beyond any other organ of society, is the trustee of law and charged with the duty of securing obedience to it. This court continues to invert those principles. Today's order clarifies only one thing. Other litigants must follow the rules. but the administration has the Supreme Court on speed dial. Respectfully, I dissent. And respectfully there really means F you, I dissent. This case was something that you and I spoke about before, although this ruling is an update to that, where a district court in Massachusetts stayed these 8 migrants who were eventually kind of stuck in Djibouti after the Trump regime wanted to send them to like a concentration camp in Libya. And they were stuck in Djibouti in transit because the stay order happened. And the stay order by the district court's like, hey, just chill. Let's figure this out. There were a lot of rights that are being impacted. These 8 people, if they go to Libya, we probably will never see them again. They may suffer irreparable harm. So let's just make sure before we do third country deportations, let's do it the right way. Pause it. Let's have proceedings. They can be stuck in Djibouti. You can send it back to the United States. If we can go through the right procedure of third country deportations, okay, we'll figure it out. Just assure us you're doing the right procedures. And the Trump regime's like, screw that. Supreme Court on speed dial. We need you. Issue a stay. Block what the district court did, which basically then means if you stay the district court stay, that means we can bring the people to Libya. And then we'll decide what happens later. And you can trust us. We're the executive branch. It's not like they're just going to get lost in Libya. And if ultimately a court rules against us, we're going to say we don't have the power over Libya. We've never done that before. It's literally what they do all of the time. And the Supreme Court's like irreparable harm to the Trump regime, not to the people stuck in Djibouti and the other people getting third country transfers. The Trump regime, you're the one, Donald, you're going to suffer irreparable harm from this. And so there was a big dissent on that case with 3 justices, the liberal justices or the Democratic appointed justices dissented there. But see, then the district court said, even though the Supreme Court ruled that, Harry, I'll let you get into this a little bit. There was nuance to it. And the district court said, I hear that order, but that order still doesn't change the underlying order that we've made here. The Supreme Court didn't really address that. So the Trump regime's like, I'm not satisfied. Hey, Supreme Court, you need to clarify. The district court's wrong. They're wrong, aren't they? And then the right-wing Supreme Court goes, yeah, they're wrong. We're clarifying it again. You send them to Libya. Let's go. Our order was the order that really mattered, and the district court's not complying with what our order is. It's like a tattletale. The district court's got us wrong. And we've just never seen this before. That's why the dissent, I think, captured it so perfectly, that even no one's above the law, although with the Supreme Court giving Trump absolute immunity, their regime's above the law. They never gave, look, I guess if the case involved the executive branch, there's, I guess, some presumptions that these are cases that should be granted certiorari more than other cases. I get that. But it wasn't like Biden could just call into the Supreme Court and get his cases expedited right away. It seems like that's what the Trump regime's getting. Harry, break it all down.
Yeah, well, let's start with what you're saying here, because the Trump administration has had more motions for emergency relief in these 4 months, Trump too, than Biden and Obama had in 8 years. So they do it again and again and again. And it's really the sort of moral of the end of the term here is that the court is going to be really responsive. And indeed, when they say no nationwide injunctions by lower district courts, what they're saying, and Justice Kavanaugh makes this clear, is we'll do it and bring it to us, and we'll do it by our emergency docket with all the problems that has. This opinion, which just issued an hour ago, Ben, what the Supreme Court term is over, isn't it? Yes, but they're disposing of certain things that are there, and they are open for business, as it were, especially when the administration seeks emergency relief. And I would say the summary of all these cases is, and we mean it. They've doubled down on LGBTQ cases, saying, we did this opinion in Skermeti. You rethink this Court of Appeals, and they're doing a series of things. Now, what happened here is there is a nuance, and so the judge he had entered 2 orders. The administration kind of jerked him around a little, and he entered a second one. And it was there that after getting this from the Supreme Court, the general order, he said, maybe this one is still in play. It's not clear. And it really wasn't clear. The administration, though they trash him in the press as a total infidel Marxist, you name it, their motion was motion for clarification. Please try to tell us that it also covers this second order. And in fact, Justice Kagan, who had dissented the first time around for the reasons you explained, said, yeah, I think it was wrong, but look, that's what we ruled. And when the court overall vacated, that goes to the second order as well. What Sotomayor is saying is, even now, we don't know what the hell the court is talking about. All that the judge did, and as you say, it was pretty measured. He said, bring them back or do it in Djibouti, but they need to have certain notice and opportunity to be heard and time between. It seems like if the court is, we don't know what was on the court's mind, but maybe they think Murphy, the judge, gave him too much time. But Sotomayor says, we still don't know. And come on, you're leaving it in a situation now even where, not having explained it, we don't know what the administration can do. And while we're figuring it out, this is the theme in all these things now with the nationwide injunction case, while it's being figured out, what could that be? A week? A month? 6 months? A year? 2 years? It could be all that time, because it's until the Supreme Court figures it out. You have a regime that could really do very unjust and unconstitutional things, and they'll let them until the Supreme Court, when it decides it's ready to, says what's going on. So that's why Sotomayor is upset, but she is also obviously making a thematic kind of statement that follows with the whole end of the term. That's just this 6-3 juggernaut where they don't even pay attention to any of the arguments on the side of the progressive three. They give it real back of the hand, and that's sort of where we are now. So Kagan says, okay, we ruled, I agree. And it's otherwise a pretty straightforward, sober kind of thing. This is just clarifying. Even though in the press the U.S. had a total conniption, but Sotomayor is still saying, and this goes across the board, man, you're doing it this way, and we don't even know how our judge is going to know, and how are the American people going to know what exactly is animating what you're doing, in particular, why you think it's okay to let possibly lawless regimes that, not to put too fine a point on it, but result in people dying, just stay in place for indefinitely for up to a couple years. This is really topsy-turvy, or just a total abdication of responsibility.
Right. I mean, our audience may hear the term shadow docket, and it is kind of what it seems. In the shadows, they're making rulings. Normally, they're sunlight, not shadows. In the Supreme Court, the parties submit briefs. The court has to grant certiorari just to even accept it in the first place. After the grant, then there are briefs submitted. After the briefs are submitted, it's put on an oral argument docket. The parties show up. They have allocated time. You then have lots of other groups called amicus briefs or amici. They go and they write on behalf of their positions. The court can accept them or not accept them. There's an actual kind of process that takes place in the sunlight, and we can hear. They're on audio recordings. We can go and listen to them. Our viewers, the listeners, if you want to go to Oye, Google Oye Supreme Court, they have all of the oral arguments, from the past. But now the Supreme Court saying, we're not going to do oral arguments. We're not going to even listen to these things. We're going to enter rulings. We're not going to tell you what the rulings, we're not even going to really explain our logic. We'll just give you a sentence or two. We'll tell you, often granted for whatever Trump wants, without even an explanation what factors. If there's a balancing test, we're not going to explain to you how we balanced irreparable harm versus the merits. We're not even going to go there. We're just going to say granted for Trump. And by the way, we're going to expedite it. So the regime files a request. We just look at it on the papers. We grant an order in favor of Trump, and then it's done. And then that becomes our order. Is it precedent? Is it not? Well, it's clearly not a precedent. But how do we view this relative to other cases? It's a real problem when they do it this way, especially on such substantive issues. Now, Harry, you can make an argument that there are some cases where a shadow docket on a super emergency basis, may make sense, something temporary, that's so super urgent that you can't possibly bring the parties in. Oh my God. But this is not one of those cases. I mean, the people who are in Djibouti, by the way, if they're criminals and third country deportation, I'll support it. I'm not like, I don't know these people. If they're bad people, do what you do to bad people. So sufficient that they get due process, and that they're treated as human beings and all of that. Fine. But don't just be like, here are just some people. You have to go to Libya. Oh, and by the way, don't worry. In 2 years or 3 years, once this is adjudicated, if Trump loses, just call up the Libyan government and get them back. What are we talking about here? What is happening here? And that's why I say we're beyond constitutional crisis. I say we're in dictator mode, and the Supreme Court, to me, looks like the way a Supreme Court functions in a country like Iran or Russia. It is existing. They have robes, but they're more like actors. Kind of play a part. They show up, but it's like, all right, and it's sad because those positions are supposed to be people we respect, but they've, to me, demonstrated that they don't deserve my respect or anybody's respect. Give me the final word.
Okay, a few things, man. We could go on for a long time on this, but so first, you struck a really important point. These shadow dockets come up supposedly in just about temporary relief, but to do temporary relief and to actually change the status quo, there are 4 factors that are important. And the most important, everyone agrees, is likelihood of success. So even though they're not supposed to be precedential, the court having proclaimed who's likely to succeed, it becomes quasi-precedential. But second, that you got to show all 4 to get this relief they get again and again. And one of them is irreparable injury. And give me a friggin' break. The people we're talking about, people who are now detained, they're going to stay detained. Whereas if you release them, you talk about the balance of equities or irreparable injury, completely upending and maybe ending lives, as opposed to what's in it for the U.S. Nothing. They just had to do their proceedings a little bit later. So I think there's a regular theme that the dissents and the progressives are making of like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do when you do this extreme thing. And in particular, you're letting them take a walk on irreparable injury. One other point, because some of these are perfectly cryptic. The worst of them literally just say we grant. That's what happened in the California federalization of the National Guard.
Access to X.
We talk a lot, Ben, about how the Supreme Court doesn't have the power to enforce its own rulings and how they're at the mercy possibly of the executive branch, and how maybe the Supreme Court now is all nervous that they're going to make a ruling and Trump will say, screw you, and then where are we, etc. But there's a flip side to all that, which is these 9 people are able to say things, and that becomes, in normal times at least, the law of the land. And why are they able to do that? It's not because they were elected. It's not because they have control of agencies. It's because they are the one branch that reasons and puts out their reasoning for all to judge, the legal academy, the American people. And in a way, when they're making these slapdash fast judgments and not explaining, that's precisely not doing what actually justifies the court in having the power, the considerable power that it has. They have to do it on the basis of reasoning and meet arguments of the dissent. And that's how we evaluate the court. That's what's special about it. And that's what they're sort of abandoning. So in that sense, Sotomayor's broader lament of, you guys are just not acting like a court anymore. There's a lot to it, and historians are going to be wrestling with that in the years to come.
It's something that we're wrestling with now, you and I here, getting the message out. That's why I want people to subscribe to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Midas. Thank you, Almighty Midas. Yeah, that, I mean, I did just pull up the Kilmar Abrego Garcia's story of detention, and also a story that I had intended to read about migrants deported from U.S. to Salvadoran prison remain under U.S. control. That story came out yesterday from the Associated Press. Boop. Boop. All right. La 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 la. All right. So this is an NPR story. Migrants deported from U.S. Salvadoran prison remain under U.S. control. There's CCOT in El Salvador. The government of El Salvador has acknowledged to United Nations investigators that the Trump administration maintains control of the Venezuelan men who were deported from the U.S. to a notorious Salvadoran prison, contradicting public statements by officials in both countries. The revelation was contained in... No, thank you. The revelation was contained in court filings Monday by lawyers for more than 100 migrants who are seeking to challenge their deportations to El Salvador's mega prison known as the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CCOT. The case is among several challenging President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. In this context, the jurisdiction and legal responsibility for these persons lie exclusively with the competent foreign authorities, Salvadoran officials wrote in response to queries from the unit of the UN High Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. The UN group has been looking into the fate of the men who were sent to El Salvador from the United States in mid-March, even after a U.S. judge had ordered the planes that were carrying them to be turned around. The Trump administration has argued that it's powerless to return the men, noting that they are beyond the reach of U.S. courts and no longer have access to due process rights or other U.S. constitutional guarantees. But lawyers for the migrants said the UN report shows otherwise. Quote, El Salvador has confirmed what we and everyone else understood. It is the United States that controls what happens to the Venezuelans languishing at CCOT. Remarkably, the U.S. government didn't provide this information to us or the court, American Civil Liberties Union lawyer Lee Gellert said in an email. Guy Perriman, CEO and president of Democracy Forward, said the documents showed that the administration has not been honest with the court or the American people. The ACLU and Democracy Forward are both representing the migrants. A Justice Department spokesperson declined to comment. White House, blah, 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 didn't respond. The administration in March agreed to pay $6 million for El Salvador to house 300 migrants. The deal sparked immediate controversy when Trump invoked the 18th century wartime law, Alien Enemies Act, to quickly remove the men it had accused of being members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. In a related case, the administration mistakenly sent Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the same prison. The administration initially resisted court orders to bring him back to the U.S., saying he was no longer in American custody. Eventually, Abrego Garcia was returned to the U.S., where he now faces criminal charges of human smuggling while legal battles continue. Last month, a coalition of immigrants' rights groups sued to invalidate the prison deal with El Salvador, arguing that the arrangement to move migrant detainees outside the reach of U.S. courts violates the Constitution. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. This is other NPR story from July 3rd. Oh, really? I'm not going to probably read the more Oh yeah, a lawsuit coming from that one. Um, this is his wife, Jennifer Vasquez, fighting for her family. Gilmar Abrego Garcia, who was deported mistakenly from the U.S. To El Salvador in March, says he was brutally beaten and subjected to psychological torture while held in one of Central American country's most notorious prisons. A document filed Wednesday in federal district court in Maryland says Garcia was subjected to severe mistreatment when he arrived at CCOT, a mega prison located in Tecoluca, El Salvador. The court document says Abrego Garcia's treatment included severe beatings, severe sleep deprivation, inadequate nutrition, and psychological torture. Abrego Garcia's ah, Abrego Garcia's lawyers shared details about his treatment in CCOT in order to argue to a judge that he should not be deported to El Salvador or any other country that could end up sending him there without prior notice and opportunity to be heard. The document describes how Abrego Garcia was stripped upon arrival at CCOT and kicked in the legs with boots and struck on his head and arms to make him change clothes faster. By the next day, he had visible bruises and lumps all over his body. The detainees were held in overcrowded cells with metal bunks that did not have mattresses, and Abrego Garcia and 20 Salvadoran inmates were forced to kneel from approximately 9 p.m. Oh my God, to 6 a.m. with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion, according to the court filing. Abrego Garcia was denied bathroom breaks, and as a result, he soiled himself, the document says. While at CCOT, prison officials repeatedly told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that they would transfer him to the cells containing gang members who, they assured him, would tear him apart, the document says, continuing that Garcia repeatedly observed prisoners in nearby cells who he understood to be gang members violently harm each other with no intervention from guards or personnel. During his first 2 weeks at CCOT, the court document says Abrego Garcia's health deteriorated significantly and his weight dropped to 184 pounds from roughly 215 pounds. Although journalists are typically not allowed access to CCOT, the human rights organization Cristosal and other advocates have accused authorities of abuses and overcrowding at CCOT and other Salvadoran prisons. In April, Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen tried to visit Abrego Garcia at CCOT, but by then he had been transferred to a different facility in El Salvador, the Centro Industrial Prison Facility in Santa Ana. The court document says that before the transfer occurred, Abrego Garcia and 4 others were taken to a different part of CCOT and photographed with mattresses and better food. In a statement from the Department of Homeland Security, Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs Tricia McLaughlin, cannot wait to see her in court, said, once again, the media is falling all over themselves to defend Gilmar Abrego Garcia. Well, burn in hell, Tricia. McLaughlin reiterated the administration's claim that Abrego Garcia is an MS-13 gang member, a charge his family and attorneys strongly deny. She also reiterated the claim that he is a domestic abuser and added that the media's sympathetic narrative about Abrego Garcia has completely fallen apart, yet they continue to peddle his sob story. Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, filed orders of protection against him in 2020 and 2021, alleging physical and verbal abuse, according to DHS. After those allegations surfaced, Vasquez said that she dropped the charges and the couple worked through their issues privately. NPR reached out to the embassy in El Salvador in Washington, D.C., but did not receive a reply. Abrego Garcia was arrested in March by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents and deported to El Salvador despite a 2019 court order prohibiting his removal to the country due to fears of persecution. Immigration officials said his deportation was an administrative error, but later accused him of being affiliated with the MS-13 gang. The Supreme Court in April ordered the administration to facilitate his return in order to give him proper due process in the U.S. About 2 months later, the Trump administration brought him back, but immediately detained him in Tennessee on federal charges of conspiracy to unlawfully transport illegal aliens for financial gain and unlawful transportation of illegal aliens for financial gain. Since his return, a federal judge has ruled that Abrego Garcia is eligible for conditional release while awaiting trial. However, his attorneys have asked that he remain in jail over concerns that he could again be deported. Yeah. Yeah. Yikes. Let me see what I've got here. Okay. Let's see. I'm actually going to end a little early today. I'm not feeling particularly well. I feel like I'm coming down with something. I don't know. I don't usually get sick like that, but for some reason today I'm kind of feeling that. But I've read through the things that were the most important, except for the fact that we still have to talk about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But perhaps we'll be able to speak about that tomorrow. So I will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early. I'm probably gonna sleep most of the day, and that's what I do when I start to feel sick. I immediately go to sleep. Yeah, zinc lozenges. Oh, that's a good idea. Hi, Lee. Oh, you didn't miss much. I mean, actually, there's some good stories, so I would definitely put this on in the background. Yeah. Maybe I have TDS. Yeah, I probably do. I probably do. I definitely do. No, I'm feeling like achy and kind of like, and so then I know I need to go to sleep. I need to drink a bunch of water, go to sleep, and sleep, 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 sleep. It'll be the sleep. The sleep is going to do it. So, anyway, I will thank you so much for your generosity of time and your generosity of spirit. And I will definitely see you tomorrow morning, bright and girly. Yes, and have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Yes, have a wonderful Wednesday. All right. I'll see you guys.